Guys, it's time for game number 3. Both of these players have taken one game. Our final match is going to be played here on Polar Night. Really looking forward to this. Should be good. Another PVZ. Both players actually playing it out fairly well here. I get the impression from the previous game that Ottr's macro may be a little stronger than Leonceid's. That can make a big difference in a game like this, but anything can happen. The top of the map here on Polar Night, we have sporting the pink colors. It is Leonceid. The bottom of the map, we have sporting the green colors this time, as before. It is Ottr. Polar Night is a very strange map compared to a lot of the other ones in the map pool. You'll notice the positioning of the bases being in a straight line from each other, vertically. Doesn't usually happen that way. This backdoor third, there's a lot of obstacles to get to it. You have to get basically through these two ice barriers, which is about 4,000 damage to actually take that. So a lot of people, after taking this as their natural, tend to go for either this base or this base, depending on the style that they're playing. And that pretty much goes across the board, regardless of whether you're Protoss, Zerg, or Terran. Usually people don't grab this base until much later in the game, just because of how far into the back corner it tends to be. Now, Probe Scout coming out. Overlord moving out. Nothing particularly crazy going on, as always. Both players look like they're going for more standard plays. And what do we have going behind this? Oh, gateway. Okay. So no cannon rushing or anything. No cannon rush shenanigans. Still just sticking with that gateway play. Remember, as I mentioned before, that 3-gate into robo play was something that was pretty common a while ago, but one of its weaknesses is just that you can't keep up with the Zerg's economy if they play that right. So I think that was kind of what we were seeing there. Not to mention that since you're going so far down one tech tree already without a second, set of gases, it can be put in charge. Yes, this drone really wants to kill this probe. And anyway, yes, one of the problems that you can see from that is you really don't have the gas to switch into something else and continue producing units, so you end up in kind of a weird bind. You really do need that second base if you can grab it. But, it's also possible if you can go for a 4-gate and kill somebody with that. That's not completely wrong, necessarily. Kind of depends on how well your opponent's playing, ultimately. This probe's just like, I don't care if I'm being followed. Yeah, follow the leader. Gonna run around the map, keep scouting, check for those really early thirds that some Zergs like to go for. As you can see, Ottr's not really a fan of that. Tends to go for more of a 2-base, grab an army, then grab a third. Seems to be her typical way of going about things. Wouldn't be surprised if she went for Mutalisks again. This is actually a great map for that. You'll notice all the airspace off to the side here makes a great escape and entrance route for the Mutalisks. Plus, you can get around to the back, and since people don't usually take this right away, the army often can't follow. You have another space back here where it's easy to dive in and out. It can be just and plus, once the Protoss goes for this third or this third, it can be very, very difficult to really defend all these locations. So it's a wonderful choice on this map. Could also be that she has something else entirely planned here. We won't know until we get to that point in the game. Why doesn't that work? For some reason, the follow function hasn't been working. I don't know if this is a bug or if there's something wrong with my client or something, but I can't select this guy and then hold like Control-Shift-F. It doesn't work for whatever reason. I was gonna say what I actually have it bound to because I actually changed the keys around, but it wasn't working before I changed them either. So I know that's not the problem. Anyway, Mothership Core out now. Second gateway in play. Still no attempts in an expansion. It looks like Leonceid's actually going to do something similar to what she did last time. Scaring that Overlord out. Not able to kill it, though. She's going to be super... Ooh, is she going to be super aggressive about this? Looks like it. She's actually going to send the Stalker around to potentially poke at the Overlord some more, but Ottr's on top of that has actually moved the Overlord back away, so this is not going to accomplish anything. Back home, we can see the Zergs grabbing the lair, as before. Looks like she's doing a little bit better, actually keeping the drone count up. If I remember correctly, had a little bit less down here than before, but not taking those guys just yet. Usually comes up, I think, pretty soon. Not right away, though. So it's nothing particularly strange just yet. So ZRQ is just actually mentioning that Ottr has played all 3 matchups. This is true. Ottr, when she first started playing in the show matches, was actually a random player. And I'm pretty sure she, she did actually play against Protosses and Zergs with the other races as well. Gives you a nice view of how the game's played, I suppose. Just the variety of it. Ah, different tech choice this time coming out from Ottr. It looks like she's going down the Hydra route. Not seeing any roaches yet, so this actually may just be pure Zergling Hydra that she wants to go for here. A very strong build against Protoss if the Protoss does not see it coming. And Leon Seeds being every Protoss ever when they're cornered, which is, hello, Dark Shrine. DT's coming out behind this. I've actually noticed that there's usually detection just built into the build that Ottr goes with here. As long as she's not too rattled at the moment, she should be able to remember that. Gets it down. If the DTs are shut down really hard, especially if a person really overinvests into them, it can be very, very difficult to keep pushing forward here. Now this again is a very, very late natural here, so she's kind of relying on these DTs to actually get some damage done. If it doesn't, then she's going to be really, really far behind here. Not to mention Lair's already up, so it's not going to take too long to actually morph an Overseer. So if she moves her drones away quickly once the DTs actually get here, it's not going to be too difficult for her to actually hold this off. But again, it comes down to efficiency of the player here. So we're actually just about to have a pylon drop. This should have been done a little while ago. The DTs, the Dark Shrine is actually going to finish, and then there's going to be an extra period of time where, even though it's done, she can't warp in the DTs nearby, no proxy pylon. So should see that in just a moment, because she's going to grab that, click down here, and try to make a bunch of DTs. Realize she can't. Probably put down the pylon in just a moment. A couple more gateways actually just about to pop up here. Still no wall at the front either. And there we go, 2 DTs being warped in. Looks like back home, then she's going to run them across the map. A little bit faster to do it that way than to wait for a pylon. She may even not bother with the pylon at all. Back home at the Zerg's base, we can see still no detection, so definitely going to be able to do some damage here. It's just a matter of how good Ottr's reaction is. DT's still hanging out at the front. Briefly checking the side to see if the gas is there. And there's definitely Overlords here, so she can make an Overseer right away. It looks like, oh, yeah, Leanne's going straight for the drones. Looks like takes a swipe at the Queen. Queen actually backs off into the corner. Doesn't really take too much more damage. Unfortunately, still not morphing an Overseer. There you go. And loses the Queen. Gonna start losing drones. Need to move these out of here. Oh, actually, the DTs looks like they wanted to go for the hatchery for a second there, but have now refocused onto the drones. The Overseer is now finished, and down go the DTs. So that's a total of about, ooh, wow, 12 workers killed. So it's a pretty decent amount of damage done, but oddly enough, actually doesn't impact Ottr's economy in any way. It impacts Ottr's ability to get a third, but she's still fully saturated on 2 bases. So, well, okay, not as bad as it could be, but you can't deny the fact that that still is a lot of damage, and pretty much exactly what Leon wanted to accomplish with that. Didn't overinvest into it either. Got about 6 kills with each. That's pretty nice. Plus, got a Queen on top of that. It's going to impact the larva for a little while. Ooh, she might actually be going a little overkill on this. She now has 3 Overseers. Now, on the plus side, it won't be possible for her opponent to actually just snipe them down real easily, so she'll still have some backup detection, so I can understand that. Now, if Leon's smart, she doesn't completely continue to go into DTs. It's good to get them for map control at this point, but your opponent's been spooked. They're going to have detection. It's not going to work a second time, so most likely, unless you're very lucky, or unless you can get that in there and there's no static defenses during an attack on your side of the map. Faust is hoping that Leanne gets charge. As you notice, Blink probably be a little bit more prudent at the moment, just given the number of Stalkers. Unfortunately, we're heading into that stage of the game where the Stalkers start to become very useless, so especially against this army, this isn't going to be the greatest thing. Double pylon proxy right there. Be another one here soon. Looks like Leon is actually positioning for an attack. It's gonna, if the Hydra numbers get large enough, this isn't gonna do a particularly large amount of damage, as Hydras are actually incredible against just a pure gateway army. But one can never underestimate the large amounts of stuff factor. And if Leon is able to warp in enough, then it may not matter all that much. Yeah, it looks like actually pure Hydra coming out here. Does have 1/1 as well. No upgrades on the Protoss. That could actually make a big difference here. The amount of damage that can be done should not be underestimated. Phoenix taken out by the Hydras. Died very quickly, though, so Leon may not have picked up on that. We'll see whether she was paying attention. No production, so most likely she was. Second Phoenix flying in. This one should actually get a little bit of a better view. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Not too many Zealots behind this. Neither Blink nor Charge has been researched, I think, on either of these guys. No, it doesn't look like it. It's a particularly scary situation, potentially, for Leonseed here. Not going out for that attack, so this Zerg army is just going to continue to get bigger and bigger. Oh, there you go. Robotic Spay coming out behind this. This is going to take another 2 minutes to come out, though, so Ottr does have about a pretty big window of time. Templar Archives at the same time. Leonseed does have a huge amount of gas, so she can get Archons to help back this up. The problem is the range of the Archons doesn't deal so great with the Hydras. The Hydras can actually do a ton of damage to them. Not to mention, unfortunately, we're heading into 2-2 Stratosphere here. These are going to be very, very, very powerful Hydras. And plus, we already have a Hive in play, not to mention Infestation Pit, so she can actually go from here immediately into 3-3. And, you know, unless she's able to get up to about 3 or 4 Colossus, this amount of Hydras is actually going to get very, very difficult to hold off. Not to mention, Leonseed's actually now supply blocked. Ouch. This is just like the icing on the cake, really, as a Protoss when you're in this situation. You realize, okay, I'm doing what I need to get stuff built. Great. I have the Robotics Bay. Time to start building Colossus. I can't because I'm supply blocked. And you're like, no. Gonna grab Psionic Storm. Okay, this is a good choice. If she can position the High Templars well enough, she may be able to soften this army to the point where this isn't as much of an issue. But as you can see, Otter's actually now moving out for the backdoor third. It does take... Or maybe not. I was going to say, it does take kind of a long time to actually get that base. But, yeah. In any case, looks like we have a move out here from Leonseed. This is a decent-sized force. Plus 1 High Templar, which unfortunately will probably not have enough energy for Storm. No, it will have enough energy. But this attack actually may start before Storm finishes. She may wait for it if she's careful. She should wait for this. She should not attack immediately. A couple more High Templar coming out. Should wait for some more energy on these before she actually starts the attack. And there you go. Third base coming out here for Ottr. Unfortunately, going to be attacking into the better defended natural here. But... army positioning on the low ground off to the side. Warped in a bunch of Archons instead of saving up the energy for Storm. So actually, even though Storm has been researched, it's not going to be present in this battle at all. Ooh boy. 2-2 versus the 1-0 of her opponent here. Ottr, I think, actually should have a massive advantage in this engagement if it occurs now. Leonseed may just be positioning here to keep an eye on the army. And hey, that probe just got discovered. Yep. More proxy pylons for that. Should make Ottr a little bit suspicious, though. And actually, uh-oh, here comes the army of Leonseed actually just trying to get up to the top of the ramp here. It's going to discover a ton of Hydras and Queens at the top. That Archon is just obliterated immediately. No time warps are able to go down. Decent force fields actually cutting a chunk of the army out. But unfortunately, this ball of Hydras is actually just so strong that as long as these units are still in range, they're able to do a lot of damage here. This Colossus is now in play, but unfortunately no more force fields in the army. And, Leonseed really needs to hightail it out of there. Is warping in a bunch of High Templar, maybe to save up for Storm, maybe to just get Archons. Doesn't really matter. This is a very, very scary position for the Protoss right now. Not to mention, missile attacks and ground Carapace 3 actually have come out here. Oh, +3 attack is actually just about to finish, too. Colossus range should be done soon, but this second Colossus is probably not going to get here in time, especially if Ottr actually moves out. That's a lot of damage from these Hydras. Each individual Hydra now does 15 damage per shot. Leonseed has actually moved around to the back. Has a couple force fields still present in this army. Can slice this in half. Good Storm on the back of the army. Oh, great Storm on the middle, actually dealing an incredible amount of damage here. Otter's able to reposition out of that decently well. And you can see a lot of damage actually coming out here on top of that. Not to mention more Hydras actually being morphed in on the back of this. 19 more coming out. This is actually a very small army, but Leanne needs to move in now and do something. Because as soon as the rest of these Hydras pop, that's not going to do anything. And in fact, she's actually just going to fall back to the Colossus and these more High Templars that she's actually warped in. Good Storms keeping her in this game. but it's still pretty dramatic. It's still pretty dark from here. Ottr has gotten up to that third base economy. The Protoss has actually been hanging onto a second base for so long now. This is almost becoming all-in-ish. If this attack does not do something here, she will probably irrevocably fall behind. Not to mention, +3 ground armor is actually going to finish soon. Decent ball of Hydras at the front. There's actually a Queen here as well. She knows the position of the army. And here comes the attack. All the Hydras actually participating immediately this time. Falling back. Nice dodge on the Storm there. Nice dodge again on the Storm. Able to keep most of the Hydras from being damaged right there. And out comes the attack. The sentry's immediately obliterated. I don't think there's any more storms in the army, and unfortunately nothing to help out the Colossus. And the Protoss' army is just vaporized. Holy crap. Ooh, that hurts. That hurts a lot. So forcing the Protoss to fall back here, it looks like is actually setting up to take this base back here. Unfortunately, no army there to actually take care of the rocks. Mined out in the main base now, so pretty much on one base economy now for the Protoss. Hasn't been really well saturated in this, so she'll still have money for some time. And, wow, that's a pretty dramatic worker difference. 59 to 35 of the Protoss. No base mining up here, though, so it's really only like about... Oh, and this one's actually about to run out, too. So the Protoss could be down into one base economy as well. Needs to get those expansions up, keep that economy going. So we're not out of this yet, guys. Still a lot of places this can go, not to mention there's 5,000 minerals for Ottr at the moment. She could get basically every base on the map and a bunch of Zerglings, if she so desired. Leon's taking the back door, get this expansion. Still not producing more probes, though, so no matter what, she's still basically on 1.5 base economy, regardless of how many nexuses she actually has. The only thing that's going to change here is her gas, and you'll notice that that is somewhat the limiting factor at the moment. She still has many more minerals than gas. Just had a bunch of Zealots warped in. Still hasn't grabbed charge or anything behind that. I don't believe. No blink, no charge still. Oh, does have blink. Okay, take that back. Hasn't gotten any further upgrades, though. She does have the structures to allow this, so must just be slipping her mind. This is one of the most brutal ways to lose a game, is if you just forget these upgrades and your opponent gets to a fully upgraded army. Composition can help. There's a lot of Colossus and a lot of Storm backing this up, so if she can do the engagement well, she can still take this. But just because Ottr has still stayed very, very kind of like one-dimensional. Oh, there we go. We have some infestors. It's going to help. Really needs to transfer these workers down there. Wants to actually keep that economy running. Still hasn't grabbed another base. Looks like she's realizing that she needs to do that now. And Leanda actually still hasn't transferred. Well, okay, the base is not done. She's pretty much just max saturated down there, and that's it. 2 probes still hanging out at the front here. I mean, still 2 pylons still hanging out the front. I don't think Ottr actually knows about those. Nope. Still not aware of them. Creep is actually just sitting right behind there. Both players really need to expand right now. It's actually not just the Zerg, not just the Protoss here. They are both actually going to be running out of money in an awkward way. The difference being that Ottr just has a dramatic bank and completely can remax on Zerglings if she so desires. And that could actually be a particularly large problem here for the Protoss. Looks like the injects haven't been kept up so well as the game has gone on. It's hard to get that macro up as you get into the later game stages if you're not as used to it. A couple sentries accidentally rallied out to the front here, or perhaps moving this some kind of... I have no idea what this is, guys. I'm sorry. I have literally no explanation for this, but I guess we have scouting sentries. That's what's happening here. She's running on to the back to see if there's a third base. The sentries are going to see this. I have a feeling this is a misclick. She probably wanted to send a couple zealots and didn't realize that she sent her sentries instead. No. Yep, as you can see, 2 sentries, not a match for a queen any day of the week. Especially not when the queen has +3 ground armor and +3 attacks. Definitely not helping that engagement out. Still needs more probes. I don't think Leonce's actually realized this. Unfortunately, that's a really scary army running out of here. A lot of storms in this. 3 Colossus. This is really squishy. Kind of depends on what happens, I think, with these infestors right here. It looks like Otter's just going to run forward for the attack. Decent storm goes down on the units. Not really doing as much damage as Leonce would actually like here just because of that +3 armor. But as you can see, really softening up the Hydra army with this. And ouch. That's pretty brutal. Able to push back the Zerg right there. Any roaches in that army and it would have looked completely different. But unfortunately, no. And unfortunately, she's actually rallying way too close to the army right there. Needs to back off. What she really has to hope happen here is that Liansi does not just run up here and attack. If she can, especially if she can just bait out these storms, drain the energy on this army, and get a nice concave against it, she can still win here. It is because there's actually no force fields in this army at all. Just a good reminder that no matter how good your upgrades are, got to keep composition in mind as well. Anyway, here we go. The attack's actually starting now. Actually, already having the Hydra's actually engaging against a move commanded army. Oh man, ugh. Taking a lot of unnecessary damage there. Very ugly way for that to happen. Still a couple storms left in this, and the Templar are just hanging out right in front. But the Storm Templar are pretty much dead now. The Colossus is actually just walking into the army, and the Protoss is pretty much suiciding all of their units. Oh, this is brutal. This is brutal to watch. Oh, trying to run away, but unfortunately he's not able to do it. The entire Protoss army has been destroyed. Few thoughts. Now all that remain. Ottr still has a very strong bank behind this. Leon sees I do it every time. Oh, it hurts. Oh man, definitely still could have taken that engagement, but unfortunately, with a really nasty misclick, Leonseed has put herself very, very far behind. Ottr should probably notice that those pylons are there any moment now. Any moment now. Any moment now. Ah, there you go. Oh man, that move command. Like I said, guys, don't be too hard on them. They haven't played in a while. So this stuff is... Gotta expect this to happen, especially late in the game when, you know, you just get not only tired, you have a ton of adrenaline running through your system. You're getting overwhelmed by everything that's happening. It's always a possibility that something like this can happen. It takes a lot of experience to really get that out of your system. Faust is having an aneurysm in the chat. Hang in there, man. Don't die. And we can't. Oh, Leonseed has finally noticed her probe issue. He's actually starting to build more, apparently. There you go. Better late than never. Needs to get another expansion, though. It's not going to do her much good at this stage. Still building the Colossus. No roaches to back up the Hydra. No Zerglings to back up the Hydra either. Some of them getting left behind. This is actually the biggest problem that Otter's had all game. Is this basically mono battling with Hydras? It has worked, but it's a very dangerous play here. And if things had gone just a little bit differently, the Protoss definitely would be taking this game. You can't ignore the composition to just go for your macro. Not completely. Getting a second unit, if nothing else, does help. Did have those infestors for a while there, and good, finally getting an expansion. Okay, big engagement from the Hydras. A lot of storms in this army, but I don't think there's actually going to be much more to back it up on top of that. Ottr trying to move her entire army out, unfortunately, not just grabbing the little bits that are being stormed. As a result, the entire army is taking way more damage than it would normally would, and as you can see here, Protoss is able to hold. So both players with some unfortunate micro mistakes right there. Leonseed does not want to move out right now. That's the biggest mistake she could make. Ottr still has a big bank to back this up. She can still throw a lot of Zerglings at her. And if she leaves her base completely unguarded, she could be very vulnerable to a counterattack. And good, wisely staying at home. Meanwhile, back over here, Otter's like, well, okay, I guess I'll have to make... I guess I should make stuff now. And there you go, she's making more Hydras. So still sticking to her Hydra plan. I'm just kind of surprised she hasn't made any attempt to transition into Mutalisk, given how well that worked in the previous game. We definitely shut down Leonseed pretty hard. You end up having to storm your own units. It's not fun fighting against Mutas with Storm. Yeah, Storm... if Storm is hitting a unit that it's meant to hit, the upgrades do not overcome it, as you can see here. It's pretty brutal. Anyway, Tragedy is actually just about to finish. So the economy for Ottr is actually just going to get back into gear. Probably should be grabbing another base on top of this. Both players really should at this point. But as you can see, still fairly near in supply. This game is not over yet. And Leonseed actually producing workers, so that's good. Catching up in that respect. And unfortunately, as you can see, really probably could use another base soon. This is a little bit overkill down here. And I'm sure she's aware of that. It's, again, your brain just getting overwhelmed. Finally discovering the pylons at the front. And also getting some Zerglings to actually help out with the tanking here for the Hydras. Composition's actually improving a little bit. But again, this is still a very powerful army, not to be underestimated. That's a lot of Templar with a lot of storms, like a huge number. And Leon's actually been doing a great job at just making sure she doesn't stack up the storms or anything, keeping them spread out, hitting the army as it's trying to move. She's actually been controlling that very well. But yeah. Creep spread, also. Forgetting about it a little bit here. Zergling's coming out to back up the army. Army of the Zerg is actually starting to expand once more, reaching its... starting to reach very scary heights. Protoss looks like they're trying to move forward to secure an expansion. Necessary move at this point. This is very wide open, though. I mean, now, the other important thing is, just from a micro standpoint, is whether or not Ottr has these Zerglings and the Hydras on the same hotkey. One of the unfortunate things that can happen if the Lings attack along with the Hydras is just that you can have this situation where the Lings kind of don't hit anything because they're constantly being told to move. So hopefully that doesn't happen here. There's actually so many Lings now that she's transitioning, looks like, into a Ling Baneling army. This is not a bad choice at all, given the presence of the Templar. Templar work very much less effectively against the Banelings, especially if they're caught at surprise. They will not do as much there. Ling's actually moving forward on the attack right now. Ling's actually just getting right on top of the High Templar. All she can do here is basically storm her own High Templar. Ling's, unfortunately, as I said, Ling's being moved along with the Hydras as she attempts to dodge the storms, and even though she had a wonderful surround there right at the beginning, unfortunately was not able to maintain it. But Lings are actually being rallied into the battle, and there's still a decent force for the Zerg here at the moment. Got to remember, there's still that great advantage. No more storms left in the army, but this is a bunch of Archons and a Colossus, so it can't be underestimated here. And it looks like she's continuing to produce Zerglings in the back of this. Actually, just about to get Adrenal Lands. We're going to see those Cracklings come into play here. Remember that Ottr still does have a really large bank behind this. As long as she has the Larva to support it, she'll be fine. Whew. Man, I gotta say, these engagements are terrifying. I have no idea what's gonna happen. Void Rays! Leonseed embracing the toss, essence of the toss. She's grabbed the Dark Templar, she's grabbing the Void Rays. Probably won't do a ton in this situation because there's a decent number of Hydras still in play here. Baneling's actually coming up as well. Baneling's actually brutal against Archons and Zealots. If there's enough of them, they just kind of run it over. Archons do tank great, but, you know, they're often not in the best position to deal with the Banelings. So, very gas-heavy composition here. 26 Lings backing up as well, and I can see this, like, Otter's composition is just evolving as the game goes on right now. Faust is just screaming for Leon to attack. It's like, what? Come on, man. Make it happen. Here it looks like she's positioning for an attack. Doesn't want to do it. Doesn't want to dive in there. She's afraid of what might happen. Unfortunately, what she doesn't know is that these Baneling numbers are starting to reach so many Banelings tasteless status. So, oh boy. Okay, there you go. Grabbing some Templars. The engagement has actually started right before the Templars are even in play. Baneling's actually running up into the Zealots and getting the most wonderful trade that they could possibly ask for right there. And the Hydras and the Lings actually just coming up to engage in here, and the Colossus are just going to die before the Templar even get there. They might be able to storm this army, but it isn't going to matter, as there's really nothing to back it up on top of that. Nothing to finish off the Hydras. This High Templar's like, wait for me, and Leonseed GG's and storms her own High Templar. Lol. What a game. Alright. Wow.